People who have taken an ancestry DNA test and accidentally uncovered a family secret. What was it? I found out that my dad is not my biological father. Turns out the family friend I grew up calling Grandpa is. Oh yay, and he was also my mom's bariatric surgeon. Felt weird, man. Dang. He was supposed to make her belly smaller. Made it bigger instead. I have an uncle that was put up for adoption. He contacted my grandma and she thought he was going to extort her. They're well off. Turns out he's a multi-millionaire on his own. They still have limited contact, though my dad has reached out and formed a relationship. Apparently they look exactly alike and have the same personality, which sounds kind of stupid now that I'm writing it out, but they're only half-siblings. Me and my half-brother pretty much look the same and have very similar personalities despite having different dads. It's even funnier because I'm a female, so does he look like a girl or do I look like a boy? Laughing my butt off. My brother has 4 kids, 2 each from 2 different wives. 2 of the kids have been mistaken for identical twins. Those 2 do not share the same mother. My wife is adopted, but found her bio mom, and did one of the genetic tests. Someone matched with her and asked if she knew such and such a name. She found out her bio mom's husband wasn't the bio dad, it was the bio mom's boss. Oops. NGL, I'm adopted and I'm the daughter of an affair some unnamed married man had with a waitress in her early 20s. I have no desire to take these DNA tests. Your wife is brave. If you take them, you don't have to make your matches public. You can choose to not share your data, and just get the private ethnicity/health data instead. Somewhat off topic, but I initially read your comment as in the early 20s. I was briefly blown away that I had found a person in their late 90s on Reddit. Then wondering why someone that old would think a DNA test would produce a living relative. Turns out I just can't read, but that was a ride. Edit. The commenter I was responding to was talking about finding parents, so that's what I meant by living relative. Of course one could find younger relatives as well. Hey, what if I told you that it is the early 20s? I was adopted and always knew I was adopted. My parents told me that I came from a family that had already had all of their kids. They lived several towns over. I was a surprise. 3 years ago my wife decided to take some DNA tests. I figured, what the heck? Maybe I'm part Zulu warrior. That'd be cool. When the test came back, I found out I had a first cousin. They had listed a public email. I emailed them, started comparing notes, and wham! I was in for quite a surprise. First, I was not born into a traditional family. Instead, my bio mom was single. Second, I was not a late addition. I had 4 sisters and 1 brother. I was the baby, but only by a couple of years. Third, most all of them lived nearby. Finally, nobody knew I was alive. My biological mom had passed. She had kept the pregnancy secret from everybody else. Before she died, she had confided in one of my bio sisters that she had a baby a long time ago, and she had put the baby up for adoption. She told nobody else. When my sister told the rest of the family, they didn't believe her. So when I finally looked them up, she was like, see? All those years. I told you so. We have a baby brother. It was an amazing experience. I had no idea what I was getting into when I sent that DNA test off. The way this was going, I totally thought you were going to say your wife was your first cousin. They didn't say she wasn't. So I'm in a similar boat. I was given up for adoption by my bio mom and none of her family knew about me. However, I was not her first or last child. I was her second of 4 kids. My older half-brother, we all have different dads. I don't know who mine is and I don't think bio mom does either, was adopted by my bio mom's parents. Her whole family found out about me when I found her when I was 19 and went to visit. It was pretty weird. I feel like the lucky one who got out. I don't talk to my bio mom. She is not a good parent to my 2 younger brothers and I hate that she pretends to know me or be my parent. My aunt discovered that her mother cheated on her father and she was a product of that affair, meaning she was actually only half-siblings with her 4 siblings. The rub was that my aunt's husband was married before he married her. The woman he was married to is the daughter of the man involved in the affair. So no one knew this, but my uncle got divorced and then married his ex-wife's half-sister. I guess he has a type. Edit. I realize what I wrote was confusing. Hopefully this helps. My aunt equals A. Her mom, my grandmother, equals GM. Her dad, my grandfather, equals GF. My aunt's husband, my uncle by marriage, equals U. My uncle's ex, my aunt's half-sister, equals X. I took a DNA test and found out GM cheated on GF with another man. A has 4 siblings that she thought were 100% blood related, but turns out they're all only half siblings. The big surprise was that the man that GM had the affair with is the father of X. I knew X growing up and never liked her. X and U were married but got divorced. So now years later, A finds out that this woman she did not like and used to be married to her husband is actually her half-sister because of the affair. So U seems to have a type since he unknowingly married 2 women who were half-sisters. I think that's more clear. It's complicated. Wow. Did it cause any problems with the family, finding out the mother cheated? Did your aunt and her half-sister develop a relationship? They only found out recently, long after their parents died. I think my aunt is very ashamed to learn of it, but not any problems. My aunt knew her husband's ex from growing up and never liked her. I don't think she has any intention of having a relationship with her. A woman over in Chicago decided to find out who her real parents were. She was getting close to 60 and realized that there may not be much time left to find her father. So through the magic of ancestry, she was matched to my grandfather. She searched out to him and told him who her mother was. He didn't recognize the name but dug up his little black book, and lo and behold, there she was. So now I've got a new aunt. Little black book? Usually a euphemism for address book. Would you remember a girl you effed 6 decades back? I can't remember who I effed yesterday. That might be due to our different professions though. /username checks out, Reddit link. Hey. That's my job. I remember everyone I ever slept with, although forgetting a couple of them would be emotionally beneficial. I am the family secret. Family discovered their brother/cousin/son and his wife had 3 children and gave them all up for adoption, after matching with me through a DNA test. They were shocked to say the least, but we're all pretty close now. Edit. Since everyone is asking, so in 1994, my birth parents, unmarried, had my oldest brother. They were in communication with the adoption agency, Catholic Charities, throughout the entire pregnancy and selected my parents to adopt him via paper files. It was a closed adoption. 3 years later, 1997, I was born and my birth mother signed a temporary custody agreement with Catholic Charities and ran off to the UK for 3 months, before coming back and signing the rest of the paperwork. She asked for me to live with the same family who adopted my older brother. Also closed adoption. In 1999, my parents received a call from Catholic Charities saying that my birth father had passed away about a year before, and my birth mother had another kid with their best friend who was there to console her after his death. My younger brother was adopted to a different family. My birth mother ran off and never came back to sign the paperwork, so it took about a year for him to get adopted. Fast forward to a few years ago, took a DNA test, found out my birth parents are married and live on the West Coast. Birth mother made up the whole story with my younger brother being a half-sibling so my birth father wouldn't find out, didn't want Catholic Charities contacting him. Birth father didn't know there was a 3rd kid until I connected via DNA with extended family. Birth mom was a larger lady who traveled a lot for work, baller job. Birth father also had a great job and frequently traveled for work. They were married in 1995. So a married couple managed to have 3 pregnancies and births without the rest of their family knowing? How does this happen? I am so intrigued. If it was pre-widespread social media and the couple lived away from other family members, it wouldn't be hard. It was early through mid-90s, and they were Brits working in the US. You're spot on. My male cousin did one and found a female cousin we did not know about. He reached out to her and apparently our deceased uncle was good friends with her mother. Mom wanted a baby, so uncle got her pregnant simply as a sperm donor. Female cousin lived a few blocks away from my grandmother. She had met her a few times going around selling Girl Scout cookies or something. My grandmother had no idea that she was buying cookies from her granddaughter. That's crazy. I can't believe days can go by and you wouldn't even know about your own granddaughter. Was it a coincidence they lived so near? I imagine since they live so close they have gotten closer because of this as well. My grandmother never knew. She was very old-fashioned and would not have been pleased with the thought of her son having a child with someone he wasn't married to. We didn't know the cousin existed until after my grandmother passed. Makes sense if he was used as purely a sperm donor. Seems like it was a secret between the mom and the sperm donor. I was approached by a married lesbian couple to be such a donor, but I was never able to bring myself to do it. I don't like the idea of having a kid that's technically mine running around and having nothing to do with him/her. I also found out from Googling that there is really no legal provision for such a situation, so you can get forced into child support at pretty much any time. You'd have to go through a clinic and get all the paperwork done like any other donor. It's why those people can't be hit up with CS, but Johnny Shmee giving the goop to a friend can. Yeah, my buddy was in a goop arrangement. He got paid each visit, couple never got pregnant. Sounded awkward as F, honestly. Hello sir, I'm here to F your wife, but I'm not doing anything until you pay me. Found out I have a different father. My dad also took a DNA test at the same time and found out his father, of 52 years, was not his biological father either. As it turns out, I come from a line of bastards. Just watch out if your wife ever gets pregnant. As it turns out, I come from a line of bastards. Where beer does flow and men chander. Did you hear the thunder? You better run, you better take cover. You and your dad can point at each other and scream, you bastard. On the flip side, my dad used to say my mom slept around and none of the three of us were his kids. Welp, thanks to the test, we know all three of us are. My aunt's ex-husband is like that. He thinks none of his kids are his because they're too brown. He is brown as F, by the way. Oof, sounds like your dad is just a dick. And they knew that part without the test. My real father and 3 half-siblings, it ended up being a really good discovery. Had a great uncle who learned he had a son from his teenage years that he never knew about. Luckily he was able to meet him before he passed away. That is amazing, he could have gone his whole life without knowing his father. Same here. At the age of 60, I discovered who my real father was and that I have 9 half-siblings. He was a bit of a dog. He did a lot of thinking with his penis. That's awesome. Were you able to have a relationship with them? My father and I chatted a lot until he passed away last year. One of my sisters lives nearby and we've spent quality time together. A friend discovered that her father was not really her father. Her mom had an affair and she was the result. It tore her family apart. Her father did not know he was not really her father. Note, she was 45 years old when this happened. I can understand the fallout with the mom/wife over the affair, secret, etc., but did her father end up treating your friend any differently after that? Yes, he basically stopped talking to her. She was very hurt by that. I don't know that he ever started talking to her again. He was always a bit distant, but he just stopped their relationship. No way, my daughter is 4 and if I found out she wasn't mine I would be very upset and may have issues with my wife. But my girl would be mine always. Thanks for awards guys, never thought this would blow up. I get some people think different or would have trouble with the situation and I understand that. I was just saying that I could never see myself feeling anything other than love for my daughter regardless of what happens. Same. There were always some doubts during the pregnancy whether my daughter was actually mine due to the timing and who her mother is as a person. Thankfully she looks so much like me that there are no doubts she's mine. But even if it had turned out she hadn't been, I've raised her for 6 years, 4 of those on my own, and she's my daughter. For me, if you told me my daughter wasn't my daughter, it might throw me for a loop, but she's still my daughter. Now, if someone were to try to take my daughter saying that I'm not actually her father, oh that would be war. Ryan Reynolds did a movie about exactly this topic, but I can't remember what it was called. One would hope the father had the same attitude as you would, but it sounds like a complicated, messy and difficult situation for all. Damage can unfortunately be done when emotions are running high. I think the movie you're referring to is Chaos Theory. A full 100%, older brother. My mother got pregnant by my father before they were married. Scandalous in 1960. So, with my father's knowledge of the situation, Mom left town, and lived with my aunt until the birth. Mom gave the baby up for adoption, and then returned home. A couple years later, she married my dad and had 3 more children together, including me. 55 years later, after both my parents had died, my aunt let it slip that me and my siblings that were not the only children of our parents. To paraphrase from Star Wars, there is another. My sister took a DNA test, and a couple of years later she got a hit. Soon thereafter, we met our new big brother and his family, wife, kids, and have become quite close. This is the exact same story as my mother. She was the one given away and met her 3 sisters for the first time when she was about 50. So, if your parents were to explain what happened to them, and how they gave the baby up, when do you think you'd want to have heard the news? Like, when you were little kids? Teens? Early 20s adults? This is a sincere question, but feel free not to answer. I would have preferred hearing it from them after I became an adult. From Mom, at least. Not original poster, but I only found out about my 3 half-brothers when I was a teenager, and would say I was glad to have known then, rather than to have found out when I'm adulting. I'd say the same with this as for being told you're adopted, as early as possible. Normalize it before the kid is old enough to comprehend the implications. My brother was told he was adopted by his adopted parents. Even told him he could look for his birth parents if he wanted to. He didn't start looking until his parents passed on. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube and share them with your friends. We welcome your comments below. Press to start another of our videos.